In this video, I'm going to tell you how to deal with the dreaded anxiety around introducing yourself to a group. So you know that situation, right? We've had it since childhood. It's haunted us all the way through our years with social anxiety, where you're sitting around a table or in a group and you have to go around one by one and introduce yourself to everybody else. Say a little bit about yourself and let everybody get to know you. That's fun, right? That's great. Well, no, when you've got social anxiety, it's absolute hell, isn't it? People have been asking me to make this video for a while, and it's very fitting that I make it now because I'm actually here in Dubai at a mastermind/networking event, and I encountered this scenario yesterday when we had to go around the group and introduce ourselves to everybody. So the event yesterday gave me a great opportunity to observe myself and how I deal with those situations now compared to what I used to do in my younger days when things would get completely out of control and it would just be a complete nightmare. So the first thing that I recommend to do is to stay relaxed, right? And that sounds easier said than done, but what I noticed as I looked around at everybody in the room, you can see that people don't generally particularly enjoy this kind of exercise, and you can see different levels of anxiety. What can happen is as it goes around the table, and in this case it was a very big conference room in the Ritz-Carlton, what can happen is you can find yourself getting locked into positions. You might be sitting like this and then you just don't move for a while. That just creates tension in the body. So what I do now, and this is something I learned when I was like queuing at the airport, don't get locked into postures. You can just keep looking around, stay active, stay engaged in your environment, and do stuff that feels natural to you that you'd want to do if you weren't being observed or felt that you're in that situation. So while it was coming around to my turn to speak yesterday, I wanted to look at who was talking, and I often stretch my neck and stuff anyway because I have tight muscles here naturally in my neck. So I like to stretch. So as people were speaking, I was just looking at them talking and looking around the room and just staying active and moving as I would normally. I wasn't locked into a position getting ready to talk because that just creates tension in the intercostal muscles. It creates tension in the diaphragm, and before you know it, it's your turn to talk and you're like, oh, hello, I'm very pleased to meet everybody. So stay relaxed, stay natural and loose and engaged in your surroundings, and just look around as you would normally. And even, I would say, add some movement. If you feel yourself getting locked in a position, just look around at the clock, look over at the projector screen, see what's going on, and just use it as an opportunity to shake off some of that tension that can build up in the body because there's a sense of anticipatory anxiety that builds up. Number 2 is do not compare and contrast. They say compare and despair. That's one of the slogans to do with the damage that social media does for us mentally, the compare and despair syndrome. So as people are talking, you will see that different people have different reactions to it. Some are more confident, some are more anxious, and that's normal. Life is often a spectrum in many areas. This is no different. When you're looking at different people in the room, do not be looking at them thinking, but he is so confident, why can he be like that? Why do I feel so bad? And I hear this time and time again with people on calls talking about guys in the office, why can't I be like him? This guy's so confident and relaxed. It's totally counterproductive to compare yourself to other people. And as my psychotherapist said to me years and years ago, when he heard me comparing myself to someone who was very confident in the workplace, he just looked at me and very matter-of-factly said, it's not a level playing field. And I thought, wow, that's really great. That actually really helps me because no one has had the same upbringing as you. No one's had the same background as you. No one has got the same makeup as you mentally or has experienced the things that you have. You are unique. You've had your own struggles and your own battles. Don't compare yourself to these other guys. Maybe they've had wonderful, secure, loving childhoods. Maybe they've had fantastic family backgrounds. Maybe they've just had a lot of positive experiences and been filled up with confidence from day one. Who knows? Maybe they're overcompensating. Maybe they're absolutely crapping their pants inside. We really don't know. So the second point is just don't compare yourself to anybody. You've got your own little presentation to make. Just worry about you. That's fine. My third point, do not script. The natural tendency can be that as it starts to come around to your turn to speak, you can be thinking, hi, my name's Ed. I'm from England and I'm here to learn about blah, blah, blah. I don't find that helpful. I find that it creates tension. It builds up the anticipatory anxiety, and it's much better just to keep blank in the mind, right? I'm just going to freestyle, just going to see what happens, just going to go with it. Otherwise, it can be very clunky. You have a pre-scripted idea. Maybe the first bit doesn't come out right. Then you get flustered because you fluffed your beginning or the start of your lines. And I just find it much more authentic just to keep wiping the mind clear. When it comes around to my go, I'll make sure I start on an exhale. Don't start on an inhale because that spikes the heart rate. And then I make an effort to speak from the belly in a nice deep voice. And I just say, I'm Ed. I'm really happy to be here. I would like to learn from a lot of people in the room who are doing X, Y, and Z. And just let it come to me more naturally. And that might sound terrifying to you if you have very high anxiety and you're used to scripting stuff, but I believe it allows things to be more authentic. So another couple of points which I've just touched on there in that example as well is to try and keep the energy down. As the anticipatory anxiety rises and it gets closer and closer to your turn to speak, your heart rate will become elevated. There's a natural tendency for all the muscular contraction to start moving upwards through your body so that your stomach starts to become tight, the diaphragm becomes tight. That affects your ability to breathe and to speak, and you really need to keep your breathing going very deep and regularly so that can keep the heart rate lower. It keeps the nervous system more relaxed. It triggers the parasympathetic nervous system so you can stay more in control of your physical symptoms. Things don't get that horrible, too sped up, out of control feel. So just try and keep the awareness down into the belly. Try and keep the breathing longer. And I know how difficult this can be when you're really struggling. You might just be struggling to even just get through it with control and not have a total breakdown. I understand that. When you first start doing this, it's all about damage limitation and just avoiding disaster. Just try and slow things down, keep the awareness going downwards, and don't freak yourself out. Don't panic. Don't start to catastrophize and think, oh, it's all getting really bad. My heartbeat's racing so much, it's all going to be terrible. Try and advocate for yourself. Your heart might be racing, but people often cannot hear that. Even when you think your voice is really quavering as well, people often will not perceive that. So just try and keep the energy going down. Start on an exhale, which, as I say, lowers the heart rate and triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. So try and get a good breath out. You breathe out. Hi, my name's Ed, and you try and speak from the belly. If you can get off on a good start with a good bit of bass and resonance and project your voice, that will create a positive feedback loop in your own mind. So many times when I was doing this, I would suck everything in and then go, hi, I'm Ed. And then you hear how nervous that sounds, and that goes right back into the feedback loop and then makes you feel more nervous. We don't want to be going up and out. We want to be trying to get it down and push down and high. And if you can get a bassy, resonant start to your sentence, that will help you to relax and get off on a good setting. And as I say, I understand how difficult this is, and it may be a matter of just damage limitation the first few times that you go through this. So let's just wrap up then. First of all, as I said, as it moves around the table, try not to lock yourself in a posture. And this also, I find, locks yourself into like a mental narrative of, oh, it's coming closer, it's coming closer. By moving around and staying relaxed and looking at different stuff, it's almost like you're opting out of this narrative that you're building in your head of, oh, it's getting closer, it's getting closer. You can break that by moving around and staying active and animated. And this also applies to the key moment when anxiety can spike right before you speak, which is when the person next to you is talking. I found it very useful to actually look at them and be engaged so that you're almost getting ready to take the baton from them rather than sitting locked up and then it comes to you and you feel it and you're like, yeah, it's on me now. Oh, hi. You're watching them as if almost like you're co-hosting on TV and you're like, right, okay, yeah, nodding at what he's saying or she's saying. They finish speaking, then you almost take the attention from them and just say, hi everyone, yeah, I'm Ed, thank you very much, blah, 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 blah. The second point, as I said, do not compare yourself because it's not a level playing field. Nobody knows what's going on with other people anyway. They haven't had the same background as you or whatever, so just don't compare yourself because it generally just makes you feel worse because you're basically saying to yourself, look, why can't I do it as confidently as them? And that's just self-punishing. There's no need for that kind of inner dialogue. The third point, as I said, is try not to script. Now, I understand that if you're super, super nervous, you might want to do this. You might even want to have a couple notes in front of you. But as you progress, I really find it way better just to let stuff come to you. Otherwise, I find you just block yourself up and get more clunky by having ideas of what you want to say. And I even found this in restaurants and so on. I would, as I said in another video, I'd be ready for what I was going to say to the waitress, and often it would come out wrong. It's just better to just be in the moment, I find, and be more authentic, as scary as that can seem. And the final points that I covered in this video were to just try and keep the energy down, not to inhale and speak on an in-breath, to speak on an out-breath, and to get the energy down, have a nice resonant start to your sentence, speak from the belly as much as possible, try and stop that upward rush of adrenaline and muscular contraction, focus your awareness going down, and try and speak in a lower voice and a deeper voice, and that will start that positive feedback loop. So I hope some of these points have been useful for you. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in future videos.